With all the big city amenities of Paris and the warm Mediterranean climate of southern France, the city of Marseille is a bustling metropolis built from an ancient trading port. It's quite famously a lovely place to visit on holiday, but also has a reputation among others to be dangerous. So could this seaside paradise be the right place for you to live long term? I'm Josh.
And I'm Kalie, and this is Expats Everywhere Explorers, the channel that brings you information and experiences from foreigners living all around the world. A visit to Marseille is never boring, and it seems like there are infinite number of museums, gardens, and monuments scattered across this gorgeous seaside city. Not to mention all of the fine French cuisine that can be found around every corner.
There is truly an abundance of deliciousness to be found here, with local favorites including fougasse bread, chichi fregui, ratatouille, and bouillabaisse. Not to mention the global variety of foods that can be found in a city with worldwide connections through its famous trading port. Though if you're hoping for a bit more activity than just hunting for the best restaurants, you could always explore the abundance of natural beauty housed here.
There are gorgeous hikes to be found just outside the city, and of course all of the water sports you can hope for at the urban beaches or in this nearby national park. There truly does seem to be an infinite number of things to do here, whether you prefer to go out and shop at the many large markets or explore museums to learn more about the ancient cultures.
Marseille is definitely a history buff's dream, being not only the oldest city in France, but also one of Europe's oldest continuously inhabited settlements. It has been a central trading port since it was founded by the Greek settlers around 600 BC, and the city's famous old port still stands at the center of the city, serving as a reminder of the city's storied and prosperous history.
This second most populous city in France has about 870,000 inhabitants, and in more recent history was named European Capital of Culture in 2013 and European Capital of Sport in 2017, which really promoted the city's standing and led to a bit of a boom in both creative arts and physical activities. Marseille is certainly an art-filled place filled with beautiful historical monuments, as well as more modern forms of expression, such as its vibrant street art.
Strolling these ancient streets and taking in the culture of the city is certainly made easier by the warm Mediterranean climate. Average daytime temperatures in the coldest months of the winter only get down to around 54 Fahrenheit, while summer averages close to 84 Fahrenheit. With all the warm, sunny weather, Marseille gets over 2,000 hours of sunshine every year, making it officially the sunniest city in France.
With all that sun and nice temperatures pretty much year-round, it's not very surprising that so many people choose to get around Marseille on foot or by bicycle, as most of the downtown neighborhoods are pedestrian-friendly and conveniently walkable. When you're not looking to go on foot, the public transport system will get you where you need to go with its many metros, buses, trams, and ferries, covered by a monthly payment of around $45.
Local affairs like public transportation are run by the Marseille Prefecture government, the mayor's office, and the Aix-Marseille province metropolis. But larger issues fall under the purview of the French national government or the regulations of the European Union. This means anyone who has EU citizenship will have a pretty easy time relocating here. Anyone else will need to apply for a long-stay visa and residence permit, with opportunities to apply for citizenship after 5 years.
One of the best ways to get a visa to live here in France is to apply for a work visa as an employee or an international talent. Many opportunities for work in Marseille fall under the umbrella of international trade and industry, with engineering, R&D, or technology experts, which are in high demand. There are also a lot of employers looking to hire multilingual workers, since the trade economy involves interacting with so many from all over the world.
After thousands of years of global trade, the sense of multiculturalism and multilingualism is really prominent in Marseille, which can be quite helpful for folks looking to move with their families, as there are a great number of international schools available. Some of these international schools teach all in English, which can be helpful, especially helpful with older kids, but others give bilingual instruction so that students can integrate more easily into French society.
Marseille is divided up into 16 quarters with over 100 different neighborhoods, all catering to different needs and residents. Some neighborhoods in the 4th and 8th quarters, like Longchamp or Prado, are deemed perfect for families with all of their green spaces, schools, and other commodities. Others have a bit of a fancier feel, like Bompard in the 7th quarter, or a thriving nightlife scene like the downtown neighborhood of Cours Julien. Just be careful, because some neighborhoods are known to be very dangerous. So dangerous that even police stay away from them. Okay, an observation I've picked up is it's a lot of the smaller side streets that
have that feeling of being unsafe. I think it's because they're very unkept. Sometimes you have people out there just smoking. There's a lot of dog poop. There's a lot of graffiti. The housing might not be great. So the smaller roads, not alleys, but smaller roads, don't feel as good. But then when you get on an open road like this, it's a bit wide open. There's a lot more people. There's a lot more going on. Even in the neighborhoods or the districts that aren't supposed to be very good, not the really bad ones, but aren't supposed to be very good, they don't feel as unsafe as those smaller roads that run just parallel to this.
Most of these are found in the 13th through 16th districts.
What'd you think of Kalie's French? That variation in neighborhoods can definitely impact the budgeting phase of this discussion, as living in downtown hipster locales will likely cost you a bit more than being towards the outskirts of the city. That's not particularly unique to Marseille though, and the general cost of living here is cheaper than its peers Paris and Lyon.
When buying your daily basics in Marseille, you can expect to be charged around $1.30 for a liter of milk, $1.70 for a loaf of bread, and $6.70 for a mid-range bottle of wine. When going out, it's common to pay around $3 for a cappuccino, $15 for an inexpensive meal, or $30 per person at a higher-end restaurant. When looking at utilities, the average payment per month is around $140, with phone plans and internet coming in around $30 each.
Rent is also a bit cheaper here than in other French cities, with the average monthly rent for a downtown one-bedroom apartment costing approximately $850 and a bigger three-bedroom place going for $1,525. This applies to real estate purchases as well, with the average downtown sale going for around $5,600 per square meter, a pretty hefty price tag that is still cheaper than it would be in other big cities like this.
One thing you don't really have to budget much for while living in Marseille is healthcare costs, since the French public healthcare system is considered one of the best in the world, and it's made quite accessible. Permanent residents do qualify for this program if they make the required Social Security payments, but can also supplement with private insurance if they're worried about the cost of certain specialist treatments.
Marseille is not only chock full of beautiful sights and interesting activities, it also has the potential to be a great expat location for anyone looking for the charm of a big French city without as much of the expenses or rainy weather. The diversity of international residents and the wide variety of neighborhoods here provides a ton of options for whatever lifestyle needs that you may have, and the history and culture here gives the city so much character.
With its abundant museums, local hiking, and nearby scuba diving, this sunny seaside sounds like a dream. But is it too expensive? Is it safe enough to walk around at night? And would Josh and I expat that?
Well, let's talk about that. So this is the time where we're going to give you guys our opinions on what Marseille is like and our impression of it as we visited the city. And we were there for quite some time. I could have been there for longer, honestly. Really enjoyed it. So you want to kick us off? Like, what were some of the first impressions that you had since it was our first time visiting Marseille?
Sure. So before booking, I hadn't really thought anything of it. And so we booked Marseille because we were doing a lot around like the Riviera and the southern part of France for a visit. And after I booked it, I was speaking with some friends and they're like, oh, Marseille is really unsafe.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even think to look into that. I didn't think that it was so bad. So I actually didn't know its reputation of being unsafe.
Yeah.
So that was like a few days before actually going to Marseille. So I think it kind of shifted my mind because I thought, okay, maybe I need to be a bit more on guard.
Yeah.
I did notice more police around, but honestly down like in the districts like 1, 2, like, you know, the popular areas around the port, it doesn't feel unsafe at all. It's actually very beautiful. And there were a lot of families out. People were out walking and shopping and eating, and I didn't feel unsafe at all. Now, as we got into some other districts where it felt a bit more like real life stuff, because that could be kind of touristy down by the port.
100%.
When you get down, you know, through
inexpensive.
Yeah, and you get through, you know, a little further away from that, you do feel it's a little bit of a different vibe, I would say. And some districts did feel a little harsher, rougher maybe than others did. Did I ever feel unsafe? No, but I also didn't walk around at 2 a.m. by myself.
Sure.
So I don't know about the safety thing. I think that obviously it has a reputation, and there's some districts, you know, some quarters that are really known for it, and there's nothing for you to go there for. Like, why would you go there?
Yeah, I think both as a tourist and then also living there as a resident, there are some districts that are deemed unsafe that you just wouldn't need to go to. So while I think Marseille does get this reputation, or I mean, not while it does have a reputation for being dangerous. And I think people in Europe that know France and that know French cities will tell you it's dangerous. I don't think it's actually that dangerous. It doesn't feel dangerous. So whatever kind of the demographics show, whatever the stats show rather, I'm not so sure. I will say this. We decided to talk to several locals, residents about this reputation. And the vast majority of people we spoke with, because we asked a lot of people, like every server we had, we talked to them about it.
I just spoke with a lady at Blackbird Coffee, and she had an interesting observation about living here in Marseille. She said that tourist season is way worse for pickpocketing and muggings, those types of things. And then also she said it's just like any big city, that you have to watch what you have on you and you have to be aware of where you are.
The vast majority, they were like, nah, it's more of a media play. It's more of like the media coming out of Paris trying to scare people from Marseille. Because, I don't know, like the rivalry there or whatever it is.
The North versus the South.
Something, I don't know.
But I think that, obviously you look at stats and you do have things like pickpocketing or non-violent crimes that happen. But honestly, that's in a lot of places in Europe.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful about big cities in Europe. Anyway, that's a thing as far as like the non-violent crimes.
And then you compare them to cities in North America, cities in South America, and it's like, okay, European cities aren't bad at all.
Yeah.
I mean, in comparison. But when you compare them to each other, then you have problems. Okay, so enough about that. Enough about the kind of the unsafe side.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the variety of restaurants. Wow.
Yeah, lots of good food.
That was awesome. That blew me away. I'm not a huge fan of French cuisine per se.
Are you allowed to say that?
I think I'm allowed to say that. I mean, I do like butter. But I don't know. There is some sort of like sophistication to French cuisine that is lost upon me a bit.
Sometimes you're just not feeling that type of sophistication.
I'm not feeling it. I prefer Italian because it's a little like less sophisticated, more humble.
Okay, yeah.
So I appreciate that. However, Marseille does have like humble, very working class dishes, and they just do them really excellently.
Yeah, the food options are really good. You can get really anything you want, which was nice. If we're going to move past food, one thing, that I guess kind of goes together is the weather is so nice. Wine, but I was going to say the weather is so nice. So there's so many outdoor seating options for cafes and restaurants and stuff, which is really nice since it gets such good weather. You have that outdoor seating that you can do, which I really like too. So that kind of goes with food, but as far as the weather goes too.
Totally.
Good.
So we live in Portugal, which is pretty famed for having really good weather. We live in Porto, which is famed for not having good weather, although it's not that bad.
Yeah, that's not
but to draw a comparison, I found that Marseille and Lisbon felt very similar from an architectural standpoint. And then also, while we were there, the sun exposure gave me a feel like I was in Lisbon because of that.
Yeah.
Did you feel that? There were some
comparisons. Yeah, you could definitely compare those as two similar cities in that sense.
Yeah, the grand kind of architecture and elements, ornate elements on buildings compared to some of the things that you might see in Lisbon. But then there's also some parts of the city that are a bit more modern, and there's certainly museums that are newer that kind of, play up to that. And I found there to be a wide variety of things to do as a family.
Yes.
We kept Valencia, our daughter, busy in different museums and at parks, and that was amazing. I think that is a massive benefit for anyone considering living in a place, especially as a family.
It felt very family friendly as well. I mean, even in restaurants, it was fine. It felt quite comfortable. So I thought for families, it is pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think we've gotten to that time where we ask the question, would you expat that? And what that means is would you want to live there for like medium term, year, couple years, 5 years, but not maybe live there for the rest of your life? So would you expat Marseille?
Okay, I think this is a tough one for me because as far as France goes, I thought the French in the south, in Marseille, were much nicer than in the north. So, of course, I think French have a little bit of a stigma for not being like the nicest people in the world. And I think that's a lot more of the Parisians that's up more in the north. I thought that people were quite nice in the south, which was nice, to get that feel like, to feel comfortable in Marseille. Marseille's pretty big. It's beautiful. The weather is good. So this is a tough one because there seems to be a lot of pros in that sense. The safety thing is a little bit of a concern. So I think for me, I would say I could live there, but there are other southern French cities I would rather live in over Marseille. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So if I'm comparing, I think I could live in Marseille, like if a job brought us there or something, because the weather's so nice and the food is really good. But I think I would choose a few other...
Like what?
Like Nice. I think I would prefer to live in Nice over Marseille.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, yes, I could, but if you're giving me the option of like a different southern French city like Nice, I would go with Nice.
Okay.
Does that answer it enough?
Interesting, yeah. So I think I'm a little different with Kalie in the sense that I feel like Marseille in a way was better than Nice.
Oh, really?
I think maybe that comes down to cost of living as well. I felt like the cost of
more
living
expensive.
Yeah, I felt like the cost of living seemed more manageable in Marseille. Marseille did seem very kind of busy. Like it did seem like the energy was higher than I think maybe I expected with it being southern France. But it does have a lot of industry and things going on. So it makes sense that people that aren't living in Paris that still have drive and like, you know, the get up and go to do things are living in Marseille. I would just kind of blatantly answer this as yes, I would expat Marseille.
All right.
I really like the weather. We were there at a time when maybe the weather didn't have to be as good.
Yeah, in the winter. So it's a good time to see a place.
And it was still really good. So I would expat Marseille.
All right, well.
And if you want to compare Marseille to Nice, right, you can click on this video right here. Let us know what you think in the comment section. Now, let's get moving. Bye.